Beloved chosen one, heaven saw your courage today, and nothing about this day passed unnoticed. What looked small to other people was not small in the spirit. What seemed ordinary on the outside carried weight in places your eyes could not see. You may have gone through this day with a trembling heart, with pressure sitting on your chest, with questions you could not answer and battles you could not explain. Yet you still stood. You still breathed through the pressure. You still chose not to surrender your soul to fear. You still held your peace when anger wanted to pull you down. You still guarded your heart when disappointment tried to convince you that your faith was wasted. And heaven marked that moment. There are days when your courage does not look loud. It does not always sound like a shout. It does not always arrive with applause, recognition, or visible victory. Sometimes your courage is simply the decision to rise when grief tells you to stay down. Sometimes it is the choice to keep your mouth closed when your pain begs to speak too quickly. Sometimes it is the quiet act of trusting God while everything around you seems delayed, tangled, or unfair. That kind of courage is holy. That kind of courage shakes the unseen realm because it proves that your spirit is not controlled by circumstances. It proves that even under pressure, your identity remains intact. You need to understand what happened today. The enemy expected weariness to silence you. He expected frustration to harden you. He expected confusion to make you careless. He expected delay to weaken your expectation and disappointment to dim your light. Yet something in you refused to bow. Something in you remembered, even if only faintly, that your life is not random and your path is not abandoned. You may not have felt powerful, but your refusal to collapse became a testimony in the spirit. The forces that came to drain you discovered resistance. The voices that tried to define you found a boundary they could not cross. Heaven saw that boundary. Heaven honored that stand. You have been carrying more than most people know. There are burdens you do not explain because language cannot fully hold them. There are wounds you learn to hide because not everyone can be trusted with sacred pain. There are nights that took something out of you, and mornings that demanded strength before you had fully recovered. Still, you kept moving. Still, you kept listening. Still, you kept choosing not to become bitter. That matters more than you realize. The world often celebrates visible strength, but heaven recognizes surrendered endurance. Heaven notices when you could have become cold and did not. Heaven notices when you could have given up and did not. Heaven notices when you could have chosen revenge, pride, or despair, and instead you stayed available to God. This is why today was not just another day. Today became a line in the spirit. Today became evidence. Today became a witness against every lie that said you were too weak, too late, too damaged, or too exhausted to continue. Those lies lost ground because you did not partner with them. Even if you only whispered a prayer, even if all you had was one breath of faith, that was enough to break agreement with defeat. You did not have to perform for heaven to move. You only had to remain yielded. You only had to remain willing. You only had to keep your heart turned toward the one who called you. There is a reason the pressure has been strange lately. It has not only been about what you are going through, it has also been about what you are becoming. Resistance often increases around those who are close to breakthrough because the enemy fears what will happen when they finally recognize their authority. He fears the moment you stop measuring yourself by your weariness and start seeing yourself through divine purpose. He fears the day you realize that surviving was not your final assignment. You are not merely here to make it through. You are here to carry light, to break cycles, to stand in truth, and to walk with the kind of spiritual steadiness that exposes darkness without even trying. So do not dismiss what happened in you today. Do not call it small just because no one else saw it. Do not belittle the private victory just because it was quiet. Heaven is not impressed only by dramatic moments. Heaven values obedience in hidden places. Heaven treasures faith that remains intact in lonely seasons. Heaven draws near to the one who keeps saying yes, even through tears, even through delay, even through exhaustion. Your courage today was a yes. It may have been fragile, it may have been trembling, but it was real. And because it was real, it carried power. Right here, pause and make this act of agreement. Comment 111 if you know this message is confirming that heaven has not overlooked your battle. You are being reminded that your courage is not disappearing into silence. It is being recorded. It is being answered. It is becoming part of the foundation beneath your next season. You may feel as though you are in a narrow place right now, but narrow places often teach the deepest trust. They strip away illusion. They force clarity. They reveal what is true. And what is true about you is this: you are still standing because grace has upheld you. You are still believing because God has preserved a fire in you that attacks could not put out. You are still reaching because your calling is alive, even if your strength has felt tested. Let this settle deep in your spirit tonight. Every attack does not win just because it arrives. Every weapon does not prosper just because it is formed. Every season of pressure does not end in loss. There are moments when heaven allows you to see, with unmistakable clarity, that your endurance itself is a victory. This is one of those moments. Heaven saw your courage today. Heaven saw the cost of your obedience. Heaven saw the restraint, the faith, the patience, the tears you did not let turn into unbelief. And because heaven saw it, the story is already shifting in ways you cannot yet measure. Hold your ground a little longer. Guard your heart a little more carefully. Stay close to God's voice. What stood against you has begun to lose power, and this is only the beginning. What came against you today expected to leave a mark of defeat on your spirit, but it failed in the place that mattered most. It may have brushed against your emotions. It may have pressed against your mind. It may have tested your patience and tried to drain your hope, but it did not take your future. It did not steal your name in the courts of heaven. It did not cancel what God decided before the attack ever formed. This is what you must understand now. Every attack does not win just because it arrives. Every threat does not carry authority just because it feels intense. Some things come near you only to prove that what covers you is stronger than what confronts you. This is why Joseph fits your season so deeply. His life speaks the language of chosen people who are attacked not because they are forgotten, but because they are marked. Joseph was not targeted because he was empty. He was targeted because he carried something visible in the spirit long before it became visible on earth. Even as a young man, there was a sense that his life was moving towards something larger than the people around him could understand. The favor of God on his life stirred jealousy in others. The dream inside him disturbed those who were comfortable with keeping him small. That is often how attacks begin. They begin when the light on your life becomes too difficult for darkness to ignore. Joseph did not start in a palace. He started in tension. He started in misunderstanding. He started with brothers who should have protected him but instead turned against him. And that kind of pain cuts deeply because betrayal from strangers is one thing, but betrayal from those close to you can feel like a direct strike against your identity. Joseph knew what it was to be singled out, thrown into a pit, spoken against, and sold as though his life could be traded away. Imagine the silence of that moment. Imagine the shock of realizing that the people who knew your name were willing to cast you down. That was an attack. It was real. It was cruel, but it still lost power because the pit was not the end of Joseph's story. That is the pattern you must see. The attack may change the scenery around you, but it cannot overturn the decision of God over you. Joseph was thrown into a pit, yet the dream remained. Joseph was sold into slavery, yet the dream remained. Joseph was falsely accused, yet the dream remained. Joseph was forgotten in prison, yet the dream remained. This is the mystery of divine preservation. The enemy can touch your conditions without touching your calling. He can create delay without creating cancellation. He can send pain, but he cannot rewrite heaven's script unless you surrender your agreement to despair. You may be in a place right now where the attack feels unfair because it came after you tried to do what was right. Joseph knew that pain too. In Potiphar's house, he served faithfully. He worked with integrity. He carried himself with honor. Yet even there, another attack rose against him through false accusation. There are seasons when you expect opposition after mistakes. But what confuses the heart is opposition that comes after obedience. Joseph did right and still suffered for it. He stayed clean and still got lied on. He remained disciplined and still got pushed into confinement. That kind of trial can make a person question whether faithfulness is worth it. But Joseph's story teaches you something powerful. Integrity is never wasted, even when it seems unrewarded for a while. Prison looked like a place of defeat, but heaven did not call it defeat. Heaven called it transition. Heaven called it preparation. Heaven called it the hidden hallway between prophecy and fulfillment. What others might have named as proof that Joseph had fallen, God used as proof that Joseph was being positioned. This is why your attacks have not had the final say. You have been tempted to judge your life by the room you are in. But God judges your life by the purpose He is unfolding. A prison can become a passage when God's hand remains on a person. A delay can become a doorway. A closed place can become the exact place where wisdom, maturity, and timing are being formed. Joseph's courage was not loud in every moment. Often it was simply the courage to remain who he was while life looked nothing like what was promised. That is holy courage. That is the kind heaven sees clearly. It is easy to talk about courage when victory is visible. It is something else entirely to carry courage in the pit, courage in servitude, courage under false accusation, courage in confinement, courage in the long wait where no one seems to remember what God showed you. Joseph kept living with inward steadiness even when his outward life was being shaken. That is why every attack against him kept losing power. The attacks changed his location, but they could not corrupt his core. There is a line from Scripture that reaches directly into this moment of your life. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20 says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Joseph spoke those words after years of pressure, betrayal, delay, and divine reversal. He did not say the harm was imaginary. He did not pretend the wound was not real. He named the evil clearly. But he also named a higher intention above it. That is where your strength is being restored right now, not in pretending the attack was pleasant, but in knowing it does not outrank God's purpose. So when you look at your own battles, do not only ask what came against you, ask what it failed to steal. It failed to steal your breath. It failed to steal your capacity to believe. It failed to steal the dream God planted in you. It failed to turn your pain into your master. It failed to make heaven withdraw its hand from your future. Like Joseph, you may have moved through places you never would have chosen, but none of those places had the power to erase your assignment. In fact, The very things meant to reduce you are becoming the road by which God reveals His faithfulness. That is why the attack lost power. It lost power because it did not own the ending. It lost power because God's purpose kept breathing underneath every layer of opposition. It lost power because what was sent to bury you became part of what shaped you. And now, even if you are still in the middle of the process, you are being shown something the enemy never wanted you to see. Heaven has been watching. Heaven has been preserving. Heaven has been turning every blow into evidence that your life is held inside a plan far stronger than the forces that oppose it. You are learning that some of the hardest battles are the ones no one else can properly see. These are not always the battles of public failure or visible collapse. Often they are the inward battles, the private strain, the weight that sits on your chest while you still manage to speak gently, still manage to show up, still manage to carry yourself with dignity while something deep inside you is being tested. That is the kind of pressure heaven notices with particular tenderness, because silent pressure reveals what loud moments often hide. It reveals what you cling to when there is no applause, no immediate reward, no visible sign that your endurance is changing anything. And still, here you are, holding on. Joseph knew this silent pressure well. The pit was violent and sudden, but prison was different. Prison was slower. Prison was the kind of trial that did not just test the body, but tested time itself. It tested memory. It tested expectation. It tested whether a person could keep believing after enough ordinary days passed without visible change. That kind of pressure can make even strong hearts feel thin. It can make you wonder whether the dream was real, whether the promise was misunderstood, whether your efforts matter, whether heaven is still watching. Joseph had every human reason to become numb in that place. He had every reason to let disappointment settle into his bones and call it wisdom. Yet he did not let the hidden place define his worth. That is where your story and his begin to touch in a deeply personal way. You know what it is to keep moving while carrying questions no one can answer for you. You know what it is to maintain your responsibilities while part of you is tired beyond language. You know what it is to smile at people who do not understand the cost of your survival. You know what it is to continue in faith while your heart quietly asks God how much longer this chapter must last. Silent pressure does not always look dramatic, but it is real. It can wear against the soul if you do not remember who you are while you pass through it. Joseph remembered in the only way that truly matters. He kept showing up with integrity. Even in prison, he did not abandon the structure of his soul. He did not decide that because life had treated him unfairly, he would stop being faithful. He did not let delay become an excuse for inner collapse. There is something magnificent about that kind of courage. It is not flashy. It is not celebrated quickly. But it carries immense spiritual weight. To remain upright in a place that seems designed to bend you is a form of victory that hell hates to witness. It means the pressure touched your circumstances, but never gained full control of your spirit. That may be exactly where you are right now. You may not be fighting one dramatic giant in front of a crowd. You may be fighting the slow drip of exhaustion, the ache of being overlooked, the tension of waiting for movement, the burden of still doing what is right when no one appears to notice. That kind of battle can tempt you to believe nothing important is happening. But that is not true. Hidden seasons are not empty seasons. They are often the places where the deepest formation happens. Your patience is being deepened. Your discernment is being sharpened. Your motives are being purified. Your dependence on God is being strengthened in ways that comfort alone could never produce. Joseph's prison years were not wasted years. They felt hidden, but they were not abandoned. They felt delayed, but they were not meaningless. Every quiet day was shaping a man who would later carry authority without being destroyed by it. This is the part people often miss. Sometimes God does not only prepare the blessing for you, He prepares you for the blessing. He teaches your spirit how to carry weight, how to endure misunderstanding, how to remain soft without becoming weak, how to stay humble without losing confidence, how to wait without surrendering vision. That work is deep, and it usually happens where very few people can see it. So do not despise the invisible battle. Do not belittle yourself because your courage has looked quiet lately. You are not failing because your victory is not loud. You are not behind because your process has been hidden. Joseph was still chosen when he was forgotten by men. He was still marked when doors remained closed. He was still moving toward purpose even when the room around him suggested otherwise. That truth belongs to you as well. What heaven has spoken over your life does not lose force because the journey feels slow. What God has placed in you does not evaporate because the pressure has been long. And while this message is settling into your heart, let this be a gentle invitation. If this channel continues to strengthen your faith and steady your spirit, take a moment to like this message. Share it with someone who is quietly carrying more than they say. And subscribe so you can stay connected to what God keeps releasing here. And if you feel led to help support this work, you can also donate through the link in the description. Not as pressure, but as partnership. So messages like this can keep reaching the people who need them in the exact moment they are fighting silent battles of their own. There is a holy dignity growing in you through this season. It is not the dignity that comes from proving yourself to people. It is the kind that comes from knowing that God sees what others miss. He sees the prayer you did not post. He sees the restraint you practiced when anger invited itself in. He sees the discipline it took to keep going when your emotions wanted to shut down. He sees the trust it took to stay open-hearted after disappointment. He sees the brave decision to remain faithful in the middle of unanswered questions. None of that is lost. Joseph's story reminds you that the hidden place is not the end of the story. The silent pressure is not evidence that heaven has turned away. It is often evidence that something sacred is being forged beneath the surface. So breathe again. Let your soul unclench. Stop measuring your worth by visible progress alone. Some of the greatest victories of your life are happening in the unseen places where your character is holding. Your faith is maturing, and your spirit is refusing to let pressure rewrite your identity. Heaven sees that. Heaven honors that. And in the right time, what has been formed in silence will speak with a power no attack will be able to silence. The reason darkness targeted you was never because you were empty. It was because you carried something that threatened what darkness prefers to keep unchallenged. There is a difference between ordinary resistance and targeted resistance. Ordinary resistance comes because life in a broken world is difficult. Targeted resistance comes because your presence, your obedience, your discernment, and your endurance disturb patterns that have gone unopposed for too long. That is why some battles around you have felt unusually personal. They were not random. They were aimed at the light on your life, the promise over your future, and the quiet authority growing in you even before you fully recognized it. Joseph's life reveals this with striking clarity. Darkness did not rise against him because he was weak or insignificant. It rose against him because favor was visible on him. Even before his journey unfolded, something about him stirred reaction. His brothers did not throw him into the pit because he had no future. They threw him there because his future made them uncomfortable. The dream on his life exposed something in them. It challenged their control, it disturbed their assumptions. It forced them to feel the possibility that God was doing something they could not command or contain. That is often what happens when a chosen life begins to awaken. It makes hidden envy rise. It makes insecurity speak. It makes darkness move early, hoping to stop in seed form what it fears in full maturity. That truth touches your life more than you may realize. Some things came against you not because you failed, but because you were carrying more than your surroundings could easily understand. There are people who feel unsettled in the presence of someone who cannot be quietly manipulated. There are systems that become irritated when a person begins to heal, because healed people stop bowing to patterns that once controlled them. There are environments that feel comfortable with weakness, compromise, and confusion, but become threatened by clarity, peace, and conviction. When you begin to carry light, you expose what thrives in dim places. You do not even have to announce it loudly. Your very refusal to become what harmed you is enough to create tension. Joseph carried that kind of tension. Even in Potiphar's house, the blessing of God on him became visible. Scripture shows that what touched Joseph's hands began to prosper. That is not merely a statement about success, it is a statement about spiritual atmosphere. Joseph carried the kind of presence that shifts what surrounds him. Darkness notices that. It notices the person whose faithfulness changes a room. It notices the person whose discipline introduces order. It notices the person whose inner life is anchored enough to resist corruption. That is why temptation came to Joseph in a direct and calculated form. It was not only about desire, it was about derailment. It was an attempt to pull him out of alignment, to stain the vessel before the appointed time, to make him participate in the very darkness he was meant to rise above. When Joseph refused, the attack changed shape. That is another thing you must understand about darkness. If seduction fails, accusation may come next. If enticement does not work, slander may try to do what temptation could not. Joseph would not agree with sin, so he was hit with falsehood. He would not betray God in secret, so he was wounded in public reputation. That pattern still happens. Sometimes the reason a battle intensifies is not because you are losing, but because one strategy has already failed and another is being deployed. The enemy does not always attack from the same angle. Sometimes he comes through weariness, sometimes through delay, sometimes through misunderstanding, sometimes through lies told by those who want to protect their own image at your expense. But beneath all of it is the same aim. He wants to weaken your agreement with who God says you are. Yet Joseph's life keeps teaching the same lesson. Darkness can target you, but it does not get to name you. Darkness can strike your situation, but it does not get final authority over your story. Even in prison, Joseph remained Joseph. He was still the man on whom God had placed favor. He was still the man carrying a future larger than the room around him. He was still the man whose life would become proof that divine purpose can survive betrayal, accusation, and delay. This is why the attacks against you have not ended you. They may have changed your pace. They may have caused pain you did not deserve. They may have forced you into seasons you never would have chosen. But they did not get the deepest thing they were after. They did not get your true identity. There is a powerful line in Scripture that brings this into focus. Isaiah chapter 54, verse 17 says, "No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper." Notice the verse does not say no weapon will be formed. It says the weapon will not prosper. That means opposition may arise, but it will not achieve its ultimate purpose when your life is held in God's hand. Joseph proves this. Weapons were formed against him through jealousy, violence, slavery, temptation, lies, neglect, and delay. Yet none of them prospered in the final sense. They did not stop his calling. They did not erase the dream. They did not cancel the timing of God. In fact, what was sent against him became part of the road that led him into the very assignment darkness was trying to prevent. This should help you interpret your own battles more wisely. Stop reading every attack as proof that you are abandoned. Sometimes the attack is evidence that something precious is under guard. Sometimes the unusual pressure is a sign that your life has significance beyond what you can currently see. Sometimes darkness targets a person not because it is winning, but because it is afraid. Afraid of what will happen when you fully stand. Afraid of what will happen when your healing becomes stable. Afraid of what will happen when your discernment sharpens. Afraid of what will happen when your voice gains confidence and your steps stop wavering. Darkness does not waste itself on empty territory. It resists what threatens its hold. So when you think about why these battles found you, do not answer from shame. Do not conclude that you were targeted because there is something uniquely broken about you. Understand instead that there is something marked about you. There is something consecrated in your life that keeps drawing heaven's attention and provoking resistance from below. Joseph's story stands beside you here as a witness. The pit did not prove he was forsaken. The prison did not prove he was forgotten. The attacks proved that a destiny of weight was moving through ordinary time, and hell was trying to interrupt what it could never truly control. That same truth is settling over you now. Darkness targeted you because your life carries consequence. It targeted you because your surrender to God has power. It targeted you because your survival would become a message. Your endurance would become authority, and your eventual rising would expose how little power the attacks really had. So do not fear the fact that you were opposed. Let it teach you what kind of light you are carrying. Let it remind you that what has been sent against you is not greater than what has been entrusted to you. And let your heart rest in this certainty. The targeting was real, but so is the covering. The pressure was real, but so is the promise. And the God who preserved Joseph through every hostile season is preserving you now. Before we go deeper, there is one gentle resource worth mentioning for those of you who have been feeling mentally drained, overstretched, or unable to focus because the pressure has been so constant. The Genius Wave, sometimes also called Genius Song, is presented as a short daily audio designed to help support concentration, mental clarity, creativity, calmer thinking, and a more settled inner state through sound-based brainwave entrainment. It is described as something simple you can use in just a few minutes a day, especially for people who feel mentally scattered, stuck in overthinking, burdened by stress, or frustrated that their mind does not feel as sharp as it once did. If that sounds relevant to you and you want to explore it, you can check the official information in the description or the pinned comment. Please be careful with fake versions and only use the official source if you decide to try it. Now come back with me into the deeper movement of this message. Because there is a moment in every chosen life when everything begins to turn. It does not always look dramatic at first. Sometimes the turning begins in silence. Sometimes it begins in a place that still looks closed. Sometimes it begins long before the outward evidence appears. But in the spirit, a line is crossed. What once held you starts losing its grip. What once defined your surroundings no longer defines your future. What once looked like the end is quietly transformed into the beginning of something heaven had planned all along. Joseph knew this turning point. For a long time, his life had been marked by forces that seemed stronger than his circumstances could withstand. The pit came, slavery came, false accusation came, prison came. Delay came. Forgetting came. All of these things created the appearance that his story had been pushed off course. Yet beneath the surface, none of them had overturned the purpose of God. They had only hidden it for a season. There is a difference between something being hidden and something being destroyed. What God hides for a time, He can reveal at the exact moment that fulfills His wisdom. That is where many of you are standing now. You have interpreted delay as denial. You have looked at confinement and assumed it meant cancellation. You have seen closed doors and wondered whether heaven changed its mind about you. But the Joseph story says otherwise. It tells you that there are seasons when God is not withdrawing from your life. He is arranging your timing. He is preserving your heart. He is letting the pressure shape a depth in you that your next season will require. And then, when the hour is right, He turns the page so quickly that what was once hidden begins to move with undeniable force. The turning point for Joseph did not begin when Pharaoh called for him. It began earlier, in the unseen place where Joseph kept his spirit aligned. That matters deeply. Divine turning often starts inward before it appears outward. Joseph did not suddenly become faithful on the day the prison doors opened. He had been faithful already. He did not suddenly become wise when the opportunity came. Wisdom had been ripening in him during the years no one celebrated. He did not suddenly become ready. He had been made ready through every hard place he never would have chosen for himself. This should steady your heart. The moment everything turns in your life may not begin with a visible breakthrough. It may begin with a shift in how you carry yourself under pressure. It may begin with a peace that no longer leaves as quickly as it once did. It may begin with a cleaner discernment, a stronger refusal to panic, a deeper sense that God is nearer than your feelings have admitted. It may begin with the strange realization that what used to terrify you does not own you anymore. That is often the first sign. The atmosphere starts changing within you before the circumstances change around you. When Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh, he was not standing there as the boy thrown into a pit. He was standing there as a man forged by hidden years. The prison had not erased him. It had refined him. The delay had not emptied him. It had disciplined him. The pain had not made him useless. It had deepened his capacity. So when the moment arrived, Joseph could interpret the dream, speak with clarity, and carry the weight of the opportunity placed before him. That is what a divine turning looks like. It is not chaos pretending to be promotion. It is preparedness meeting timing under the hand of God. This is why you must not curse the season that formed you. The very things that looked like they were breaking you may have been building the strength your next assignment requires. The betrayal taught you discernment. The delay taught you patience. The loneliness taught you how to hear God without needing human applause. The confinement taught you how to keep your inner world in order when the outer world made no sense. The unanswered questions taught you surrender. And all of that matters because when the turning comes, you will need more than excitement. You will need substance. Joseph had substance because suffering had not hollowed him out. It had made him deeper. There comes a holy moment when heaven says enough. Enough hiding, enough constriction, enough training in the shadows. And when that moment comes, what once seemed impossible begins to move. Not because your pain was meaningless, but because it has completed part of its assignment. Not because the enemy suddenly became merciful, but because God's timing outranked every hostile plan. Joseph did not release himself from prison. God arranged the hour. God opened the door. God connected the need of a nation to the preparation of one man. That is how precise divine reversal can be. What looked like years of silence were actually years of positioning. So hear this clearly. The line is being crossed, and the pressure that once seemed endless is not endless. The chapter that felt sealed is not sealed forever. The place that trained you is not the place that will contain you forever. Like Joseph, you are approaching a turning shaped by God's wisdom, not human prediction. Stay steady now. Do not let impatience make you careless at the edge of transition. Do not let weariness talk you out of hope just because the breakthrough has not fully arrived in visible form. Some of the most sacred shifts begin quietly. The moment everything turned for Joseph was not random, and neither is yours. Heaven knew the exact day. Heaven knew the exact need. Heaven knew the exact timing required to bring hidden preparation into open purpose, and that same wisdom is governing your life now. So hold your peace, guard your heart, remain faithful in the place where you are standing. The turning may be closer than it appears. And when it comes, you will understand that no pit, no prison, no accusation, and no delay ever had the authority to stop what God had already decided to bring forth through you. There are moments in your life when you think you are standing alone, when the room feels quiet, the burden feels personal, and the weight on your shoulders seems too specific for anyone else to understand. Yet the truth is deeper than what your senses report. You are never as unattended as pain tries to convince you that you are. Heaven does not watch your struggle from a distance with folded arms. Heaven responds. Heaven moves. Heaven assigns help in ways you may not always see at first. And when you choose to stand, even while trembling, even while tired, even while uncertain, that stand becomes the place where unseen help gathers around your obedience. Joseph lived inside that mystery for years. There is no record of him living an easy life after the dream first came to him. What followed was pressure after pressure, wound after wound, an unexpected turn after unexpected turn. Yet through every stage of his journey, there is one truth that keeps appearing like a steady flame in a dark room. The Lord was with Joseph. That simple truth explains everything. It explains how he survived what should have crushed him. It explains how he remained useful in places designed to reduce him. It explains how favor kept appearing in rooms where he had no human reason to expect it. The help around Joseph was not always visible in dramatic signs, but it was real. Heaven kept meeting him in the place where he stood. That is what many of you are learning now. Sometimes angelic help does not arrive in the form of spectacle. Sometimes it appears as unusual preservation. Sometimes it is the strange strength that carries you through a day that should have broken you. Sometimes it is a door that opens at the exact right time. Sometimes it is clarity that comes just before confusion would have swallowed your peace. Sometimes it is restraint that keeps you from making a choice that would have harmed your future. Sometimes it is favor resting on your life even in a season when your circumstances do not look favorable at all. Heaven knows how to send help that fits the battle. Joseph kept finding that help. In Potiphar's house, though he arrived there through injustice, he was not abandoned there. Something on his life caused trust to gather around him. Responsibility was placed into his hands. Order began to follow him, even in prison, where many would expect a person's spirit to collapse. Joseph did not disappear into uselessness. Favor found him there too. The keeper of the prison noticed what heaven had already marked. Again, responsibility came. Again, trust came. Again, Joseph stood out not because the place was pleasant, but because God's hand remained on him in the place no one would have chosen. That should speak directly to your heart. The fact that you are in a hard place does not mean heaven has stepped back. The fact that you have been delayed does not mean assistance has been denied. Sometimes help is already active before you fully recognize it. Sometimes God sends strength before he sends explanation. Sometimes he sends endurance before he sends release. Sometimes he sends a covering over your mind so that the pressure cannot do all the damage it intended to do. Sometimes he sends peace in measured portions, just enough for the next step, because he is teaching you to walk with him in real dependence. And this is why your choice to keep standing matters so much. Heaven moves toward surrender. Heaven responds to faith that remains available. Joseph did not become bitter and unreachable. He kept his inner life open to God. He kept his integrity. He kept his gift alive. He interpreted dreams in prison not because prison was fair, but because his calling did not shut down just because life had become painful. That is a powerful image for you. Your gift still matters in the hard place. Your obedience still matters in the waiting place. Your spirit still carries significance even before the visible breakthrough appears. There are unseen assignments connected to your yes right now. There are protections you may only understand later. There are dangers you may never know you were spared from. There are moments when you almost lost heart, and somehow grace held you steady enough to keep moving. Do not dismiss that as small. Heaven is involved in more of your story than you realize. The silence around you is not proof of absence. It may simply mean that unseen work is happening beyond the range of your immediate understanding. Joseph could not see the full structure God was building while he was in prison, but heaven was already connecting pieces he had no way of arranging by himself. And while this word is strengthening you, let it settle gently into action. If this message is helping you breathe again, helping you hold your ground, and helping you hear God more clearly in your battle, take a moment to like this message. Share it with someone who needs strength for their hidden season. And subscribe so you can stay connected to these words of encouragement. And if you feel moved to support this work, there is a way to donate in the description. That kind of support helps these messages continue reaching people who may be standing in the dark, needing exactly this reminder that heaven has not forgotten them. Joseph's life proves that heaven's help is not sentimental. It is purposeful. It does not always remove the trial immediately, but it keeps the trial from owning the outcome. It sustains, it positions, it preserves. It opens what no human hand could open at the proper time. When the day finally came for Joseph to stand before Pharaoh, it looked sudden to everyone else, but heaven had been preparing that moment for a long time. The unseen assistance had never stopped. The favor in Potiphar's house, the preservation in prison, the memory stirred in the cupbearer at the right hour, the interpretation placed in Joseph's mouth, all of it showed that God had been governing the path with precision. So when you feel unseen, remember this. The help assigned to your life is not limited by what other people recognize. The care of heaven is not dependent on public acknowledgement. You are being carried in ways you cannot fully measure. There are angels assigned to the stand you are making. There is grace assigned to the obedience you are practicing. There is protection assigned to the calling you carry. There is wisdom assigned to the next door that will open. Stay where your spirit can still hear God. Stay where your heart can still yield. Stay where your integrity can remain whole. The unseen help around you is not imaginary. It is already active. And one day, like Joseph, you will look back and realize that what felt like lonely endurance was actually surrounded endurance. What felt like silence was guided silence. What felt like delay was protected timing. You were never standing by yourself. Heaven saw your stand. Heaven honored your stand, and heaven sent help that kept your life moving toward purpose even when everything around you suggested otherwise. That is why you are still here. That is why your heart still beats with hope. That is why the story is still moving forward. The God who stayed with Joseph in every hard place is staying with you now, and his help is closer than your fear has been telling you. By now, you can begin to see what the enemy never wanted you to understand. The schemes formed against you were never as strong as they appeared when they first arrived. They looked powerful because they were loud. They looked final because they were painful. They looked convincing because they touched real parts of your life. But beneath all that noise, something else was happening. Their power was being drained. Their force was weakening. Their reach was being limited by the hand of God, by your refusal to let go, and by the quiet strengthening that was happening inside you while you thought you were only trying to survive. This is where Joseph's story becomes even more revealing. For years, it may have seemed as though the people and forces against him were winning. His brothers succeeded in throwing him into a pit. The traders succeeded in carrying him far from home. Potiphar's wife succeeded in bringing false accusation against him. The prison succeeded in closing around his body. The cupbearer even forgot him for a time. At the surface level, each attack appeared to work. Each one seemed to move Joseph farther from what God had shown him in the beginning. But appearances do not tell the deepest truth. None of those attacks achieved their ultimate purpose. None of them erased the dream. None of them broke the covenant of God over his life. None of them gained the ending. That is how the draining of enemy power often works. It is not always immediate to the eye. It unfolds over time as one weapon after another fails to secure your surrender. The pit did not keep Joseph. Slavery did not define him. Temptation did not corrupt him. False accusation did not destroy his name before heaven. Prison did not bury his future. Forgetting did not cancel his timing. Every scheme lost something each time Joseph remained aligned with God. Every attack spent itself without obtaining the treasure it came to steal. That is what happens when a chosen life stays under divine covering. The battle may continue for a season, but the enemy keeps paying a price without gaining what he came for. You need to hear that for your own life right now. The enemy has spent effort trying to break your focus, poison your emotions, exhaust your will, and convince you that this season is proof of defeat. But look closely. You are still here. You are still praying. Even if your prayers have been quieter than before, you are still reaching for truth, even after disappointment. You are still resisting the urge to become what wounded you. You are still guarding the spark of faith, even if you have had to cup your hands around it in the wind. That means the attacks have already been losing power. They may have wounded parts of your journey, but they have not taken the center of who you are. Joseph's rise in Egypt proves this beautifully. When Pharaoh dreamed and no one could provide the answer, the prison was no longer the final frame around Joseph's life. In a single movement of divine timing, what had once looked like a closed place became the place from which he was summoned into purpose. Think of the humiliation the enemy must endure in such moments. The very person he tried to hide is brought into the open. The very life he tried to delay becomes the answer to a crisis larger than itself. The very season meant to weaken a chosen one becomes the training ground that prepared them for influence. That is not just survival. That is reversal. That is the draining of enemy power until the strategy collapses under the weight of God's greater plan. Joseph did not rise because evil became good. He rose because God remained sovereign over evil. That distinction matters. You are not called to pretend that betrayal was kindness or that prison was pleasant. Joseph never needed to call darkness light, but he did live long enough to see that darkness was never in control of the final meaning of his life. What was meant to reduce him became part of what revealed him. What was meant to isolate him became part of what distinguished him. What was meant to make him disappear became part of what positioned him to preserve many lives. There is a verse that speaks directly into this truth. Romans chapter 8, verse 31 says, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" That is not a denial that opponents exist. Joseph had opponents. You have had opponents. The verse speaks to outcome, not absence of conflict. It means that no matter who rises against a life held by God, none of them carry a greater authority than the one who ordained that life's purpose. They can oppose, they can delay, they can wound, but they cannot sit on the throne above your destiny. They cannot rewrite what God intends to fulfill through your obedience. That realization changes how you read your battles. You stop treating every attack as a prophecy of doom. You stop assuming that pressure means the enemy is in charge. You begin to notice the wear and tear on the schemes themselves. You begin to see how many things came to swallow you and somehow left empty-handed. You begin to remember doors that should have shut completely but did not. You begin to remember moments when your mind should have gone under but grace held it. You begin to remember temptations that did not win, lies that did not stick forever, delays that did not destroy the promise, tears that did not drown your faith. The enemy has been spending himself against a life he does not own. Joseph eventually stood in a place his enemies could never have predicted. He was not merely alive, he was governing. He was not merely restored, he was entrusted. He was not merely free from prison, he was carrying wisdom for a nation. That is what happens when God drains the power from hostile plans. They do not just fail privately. Their failure becomes visible in the elevation of the very person they targeted. That is why you must not define your life by the middle of the story. In the middle, enemies can look strong. In the middle, confinement can look permanent. In the middle, your tears can make the night feel endless. But the middle is not the end, so let your heart receive this. The power of your enemies is not increasing as much as your fear once told you. It is decreasing under the weight of divine purpose. Their threats are losing substance. Their accusations are losing authority. Their delays are losing permanence. Their intimidation is losing effect. They may still make noise for a while, but noise is all it becomes when heaven has already judged the outcome. Joseph's life stands before you as living proof that what comes against the chosen can be real and painful, yet still powerless to cancel what God has spoken. That is what is happening even now. Power is draining from what resisted you. Force is leaving what tried to control you. The grip is weakening. The story is turning. And one day you will look back on the very attacks that terrified you and realize they were already collapsing long before you could see it clearly. God was for you the whole time. God was preserving you the whole time. God was emptying the strength of every enemy strategy until nothing remained but the evidence that His purpose over your life had stood firm through it all. What you gained in this season is greater than what you lost, even if you do not fully see it yet. That may be hard for your emotions to accept at first, because pain has a way of making loss feel louder than formation. Delay feels heavy. Betrayal feels personal. Waiting feels expensive. But in the kingdom of God, resistance is never just something you survive. Resistance can also become the place where hidden authority is forged. The very season that seemed determined to wear you down may have been the season that built in you what comfort never could. This is why the reward hidden in resistance is so precious. It is not always a reward your natural eyes recognize immediately, but it is real, and it changes the way you walk from this point forward. Joseph lived this truth in a profound way. When you look at his story, you see a man who lost much before he was publicly entrusted with much. He lost ease. He lost familiar surroundings. He lost innocence in the sense that he came to understand how cruel human hearts can be. He lost years he probably never imagined would be spent in slavery and confinement. Yet while all of that was happening, something else was being given to him. He was gaining depth. He was gaining discipline. He was gaining spiritual weight. He was gaining the kind of inward steadiness that would later allow him to carry influence without being destroyed by it. This is one of the deepest mysteries of God's work in a chosen life. He does not waste resistance. He does not merely help you endure it until it passes. He draws something out of it. He forms discernment in you. He forms patience in you. He forms a cleaner dependence on Him. He forms a stronger center in you, so that when honor, responsibility, and visibility finally arrive, you are not ruled by pride, panic, or insecurity. Joseph could not have carried the weight of Egypt's crisis as a shallow man. The hidden years carved out room in him for wisdom. The pain did not just wound him. Under God's hand, it widened him. That is part of what has been happening to you. You thought you were only losing time, but you were gaining spiritual endurance. You thought you were only being overlooked, but you were being detached from the need for constant human approval. You thought you were only being delayed, but you were learning how to stay faithful without immediate reward. You thought the resistance was proof that something had gone wrong, yet heaven was using it to train your soul for a level of authority you could not have handled before this season. The hidden reward in resistance is often this: you come out carrying more of heaven's nature than you had when you entered. Joseph's later actions proved that the resistance had produced something beautiful in him. When power finally came into his hands, he did not become reckless with it. He did not use authority only to satisfy old wounds. He did not let bitterness rule the way he governed. Imagine that for a moment. A man betrayed by his brothers, sold away, falsely accused, forgotten in prison, and then lifted into immense influence could easily have become hard and severe in all the wrong ways. Yet Joseph's suffering had not made him spiritually small. It had given him a wiser heart. That is a reward. It is a reward few people recognize until they see how rare it is to hold power without becoming cruel. This is where your own life is being strengthened. The reward hidden in your resistance is not just that you will eventually come out. It is that you are coming out changed in the right ways. You are not being prepared merely to escape pain. You are being prepared to carry presence. You are being prepared to speak with more weight, to discern with more clarity, to love with more wisdom, and to stand with more authority. The attack wanted to leave you weaker, but under God's hand it is leaving you deeper. That is why this season has not been empty. It has been expensive, yes, but not empty. There is a powerful scripture that speaks into this transformation. James chapter 1, verse 12 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." Notice the language there. It does not say the trial itself is the crown. It says perseverance through the trial leads to something precious. There is reward in remaining steady. There is reward in not abandoning your love for God in the middle of stress. There is reward in standing the test. Joseph stood the test again and again, and the reward was not only position. The reward was the kind of man he had become by the time position arrived. You may be closer to recognizing that in yourself now. You are beginning to notice that some things that used to shake you no longer carry the same power. Some voices no longer define you as easily. Some delays no longer send you into the same panic. Some disappointments still hurt, but they do not own your identity. That is growth. That is authority forming. That is evidence that your resistance has not been pointless. You are gaining an inner life that does not crumble at the first sign of pressure. That is a hidden treasure, and it will matter in the next chapter more than you know. Right here, let your agreement become simple and clear. Comment, "I am rising." Sometimes a reward is hidden because it is not flashy. It is not always money, recognition, or immediate relief. Sometimes it is the ability to remain calm where you once would have unraveled. Sometimes it is the wisdom to recognize unhealthy patterns before they trap you again. Sometimes it is the strength to forgive without becoming foolish. Sometimes it is the confidence to obey God without waiting for everyone else's approval. Sometimes it is the maturity to carry pain without letting pain become your personality. Joseph received these kinds of riches long before the world saw him in linen garments and public authority. That is why you must not judge this season only by what hurt. Judge it also by what it built. Judge it by the stability now growing in your spirit. Judge it by the refined motives, the sharpened discernment, the deeper surrender, the stronger boundaries, the greater patience, the clearer hearing, the more grounded faith. These are not small things. These are the rewards resistance was never supposed to give you, yet God has drawn them out anyway. The enemy wanted to press you into collapse, but instead your endurance has become a workshop for wisdom. So take heart. Joseph's story reminds you that the reward hidden in resistance is not imaginary. It is already emerging. You are being formed into someone who can carry what is coming. You are not just surviving this chapter. You are receiving from it. And what heaven has built in you through every hard place will speak long after this season has passed. One day you will look back and realize that even when you felt stripped, God was clothing your spirit with strength no attack could ever take away. By this point, something in you has changed. You may not have fully named it yet, and perhaps the people around you have not understood it either. But your presence is not the same as it was before these battles. You carry a different kind of weight now. You walk with a deeper awareness. You listen differently. You discern more quickly. You feel more clearly what belongs in your life and what does not. That is not arrogance. That is not hardness. That is not distance for its own sake. That is spiritual authority being formed through endurance. It comes when a person has walked through enough fire with God that their spirit stops trembling before every shadow. Joseph arrived at that kind of authority through a path he never would have chosen for himself. It was not handed to him cheaply. It was forged in the long place between the dream and the fulfillment. It was shaped in the pit, strengthened in service, purified under temptation, deepened in false accusation, and matured in prison. By the time he stood in the courts of Egypt, something greater than ambition was resting on him. He was not simply a man who had survived pain. He was a man who could now carry power without losing alignment. That is one of the clearest signs of true spiritual authority. It is not only the ability to rise, it is the ability to rise without becoming corrupted by the height. This matters for you now because spiritual authority is not just about speaking boldly or appearing strong. It is about what your life carries when you enter a room. It is about the atmosphere your spirit releases. It is about the steadiness that comes from having been broken in the right places and healed by God rather than made cynical by the world. Joseph carried that steadiness. When famine came, he did not panic. When responsibility increased, he did not collapse under its weight. When decisions had to be made for the preservation of many lives, he did not move from confusion. He had become a man whose inner world could hold what his outer assignment demanded. That is what God has been doing in you. He has been preparing your spirit to carry more without falling apart. He has been teaching you how to remain clear while pressure rises. He has been showing you how to stand in truth when emotions are loud. He has been teaching your heart not to worship urgency, not to bow to fear, not to surrender its balance every time opposition appears. This kind of formation creates authority that cannot be faked. It is quiet, but unmistakable. People may not have language for it, but they can feel it. Darkness can feel it too. It recognizes when a person has stopped being easily moved. Joseph's reunion with his brothers reveals just how deep this authority had become in him. This was the moment where old wounds could have ruled the story again. This was the moment where pain from the past could have taken the throne. He had power now. He had position now. He had every earthly opportunity to answer injury with injury. Yet he stood in a higher place. He did not deny what happened. He did not pretend the betrayal was nothing. But he saw through it. He saw above it. He recognized that God's hand had been at work through years of chaos. And because he could see with that kind of height, he did not need revenge to prove his strength. That is authority. Authority is when your wounds no longer command your actions. Authority is when memory no longer controls your identity. Authority is when you can stand in front of what once broke your heart and not become a prisoner of it again. Authority is when the pain of yesterday no longer dictates the wisdom of today. Joseph had reached that place. His tears were real. But they were not the tears of a man still chained to bitterness. They were the tears of a man who had been enlarged by God. He had suffered, but suffering had not made him small. There is a scripture that speaks into this kind of rise. 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." This verse fits your season with great precision. Notice how these gifts travel together. Power, love, a sound mind. Not power without tenderness, not love without strength, not spirituality without clarity. Joseph carried all three by the end of his journey. He had power in his position, he had love in his response, he had a sound mind in how he governed and discerned the times. That is the kind of authority God is building in you. You are not being prepared to become loud and reckless. You are being prepared to become grounded and effective. Your presence is meant to shift atmospheres not because you demand attention, but because what rests on your life carries order. Where confusion once ruled you, clarity is taking root. Where fear once pushed you into reaction, peace is learning to stay. Where insecurity once made you shrink, confidence born of God is beginning to settle into your bones. These are not small changes. They are signs that your authority is becoming stable. This new level will require you to honor what God has built. Do not step back into agreements that once weakened you. Do not make yourself small to comfort people who only understand the earlier version of you. Do not treat your hard-won discernment as something optional. Joseph did not return to being the unguarded dreamer who did not yet understand the cost of his calling. He remained tender, but he was no longer naive. He remained compassionate, but he was no longer easily handled. He remained humble, but he knew where God had seated him. That balance is sacred, and it is part of your own growth now. You may still feel in process, and that is all right. Authority often grows before confidence catches up to it. Sometimes your spirit has already matured beyond what your emotions have recognized. Sometimes heaven has already trusted you with more than you realize because the evidence is first seen in how you carry yourself, how you respond under pressure, how you recover from disappointment, how you refuse to let darkness train your heart. Joseph did not wake up one day and magically become ready. Readiness had been accumulating in him for years, so receive this with peace. You are not who you were when this season began. You have been formed. You have been strengthened. You have been taught in hidden places. And now a new level of spiritual authority is resting on you. Like Joseph, you are learning how to stand with power, love, and a sound mind all at once. That is rare. That is holy. That is the mark of a life that has walked through pressure and come out carrying something heaven can trust. Let that truth settle in you. Your presence is changing. Your authority is growing. And what God has built in secret is beginning to shape every room you enter. Now you stand at the edge of something your earlier self could not have carried. You are not standing here because the battle was easy. You are not standing here because the attacks never touched you. You are standing here because God preserved something in you through every hard place. And now that preserved part of you is ready to walk forward with greater clarity, greater peace, and greater authority than before. This is what it means to step fully into your calling. It is not becoming someone artificial. It is not pretending to be untouched by pain. It is becoming fully aligned with who God has been shaping you to be all along. There were seasons when you thought survival was the whole story. There were days when simply getting through the next hour felt like enough. There were nights when your prayers were more like sighs than sentences, and mornings when your courage felt thin and quiet. Yet even then, heaven was not only preserving you for survival, heaven was preparing you for purpose. The attacks lost power not merely so you could rest from fear, but so you could rise into assignment. The pressure did not have the final word, and now the space opening before you is not empty. It is filled with invitation. Your calling is not just about what you do. It is about what you carry. It is about how heaven's work in your life begins to touch other lives through your words, your decisions, your presence, your obedience, your compassion, and your steadiness. Some of you are being called to lead with more courage. Some are being called to create, to build, to speak, to serve, to restore, to intercede, to comfort, to guide, to bring order where there has been confusion. Some are being called to break patterns that have traveled through generations. Some are being called to stand as living proof that what God heals, He also sends back out with purpose. Whatever form it takes, your calling grows strongest when your heart remains yielded. So do not step into this next place with fear. Do not assume that because the last season was hard, the next one must also be ruled by the same weight. You are not entering as the person who first encountered the battle. You are entering as the person who has been formed through it. The wounds taught you. The delays refined you. The hidden seasons deepened you. The lonely places taught you to hear God more clearly. The moments of restraint taught you that true strength does not need to shout. All of that has become part of the oil on your life. All of that now serves the calling ahead of you. And as you move into this next chapter, let prayer become your covering in a deeper way. Let it not be only your reaction in crisis, but your daily place of alignment. So right here, let this prayer rise gently from your heart. Father, thank you for seeing me when no one else fully understood what I was carrying. Thank you for preserving me through battles I did not think I could bear. Thank you for every time you kept me from collapsing, every time you strengthened my mind, every time you protected my spirit, and every time you reminded me that I was not abandoned. I place this next season fully into your hands. Cleanse my heart from fear, from bitterness, from striving, and from every lie that says I am not ready for what you have called me to do. Let your peace settle deeply in me. Let your wisdom guide my steps. Let my life honor you in public and in private. Open the right doors and close the wrong ones. Sharpen my discernment so I do not confuse distraction with assignment. Give me courage to obey quickly, humility to remain teachable, and strength to keep walking when the path requires faith. Let what you have built in me become a blessing to others. And let every part of my calling unfold under your hand, in your timing, and for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Receive that prayer slowly. Do not rush past it. Sometimes your spirit needs a holy pause so that truth can sink deeper than emotion. You are not stepping into your calling alone. The same God who kept you through the hidden years will keep you in the visible years. The same God who sustained you in weakness will sustain you in responsibility. The same God who taught you in the shadows will guide you in the open places. Your future is not asking you to become self-sufficient. It is asking you to remain surrendered. And while this message settles in your spirit, let me gently invite you to stay connected here. If this word has strengthened you, helped you hear God more clearly, or reminded you that your battle was never invisible to heaven, take a moment to like this message, share it with someone who needs this same encouragement, and subscribe so you can continue receiving these words as you walk forward. And if you feel led to help support this channel and the messages being shared here, there is a way to donate in the description. That support helps keep this work moving outward to hearts that may be fighting in silence and waiting for a word like this to meet them at the right time. Now lift your head a little higher. Breathe a little deeper. Stop speaking to yourself as though you are still trapped in the oldest version of this story. You are not standing in the pit anymore. You are not defined by accusation anymore. You are not confined to the prison of delay anymore. You are moving into the place where what God formed in secret begins to bear visible fruit. You do not have to force it. You do not have to perform for it. You only have to remain close to the one who called you. This is the doorway. This is the hour to walk with a clearer yes in your spirit. Let obedience become simpler. Let trust become steadier. Let your heart stop negotiating with fear. The attacks lost power. The pressure did not win. Heaven saw your courage. Heaven honored your stand. And now your calling is not a distant idea. It is the path opening under your feet as you keep saying yes to God one step at a time. So rest in this truth tonight. You were never overlooked. You were never fighting without witness. Heaven saw the tears, the restraint, the prayers, the endurance, and the quiet courage it took for you to keep going. What tried to break you has not been allowed to define you. What tried to stop you has only revealed how faithfully God has carried you. Let your soul grow still now. Release the need to understand every detail at once. Release the pressure to make everything happen by your own strength. The God who brought you through will also lead you forward. Sleep with peace. Wake with expectation. Walk with trust. The road ahead is not perfect, but it is covered by grace. And as you continue, may your heart remain steady, your mind remain clear, and your spirit remain anchored in the love and purpose of God. Your story is still unfolding, and what heaven has spoken over your life has not lost one bit of its power.